Hello, everyone. It's episode 112 of the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast, and today we'll be covering the 2025 April Fool's event. What's the joke? There is no joke. We're recording this in May. I'm your host, SPNanon, here with my co-host, Nord. Say hi.
Hi, Nord.
And our guest, who was, I think was last on in 2023, but he's a pretty regular contributor to SPNatI. He's made some of the most popular characters in the game and has collaborated with a lot of different people. We talked about some of his work and his involvement with the new and improved Saki Yoshida epilogue with Mari Setsugaya and her involvement. It's Mymans76. Say hi and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Mymans76, who you probably haven't heard in a while, but yeah, I have been around. Yeah, it's quite nice to be here, especially for the April Fool's edition of the podcast episodes, because the April Fool's event is one that I have a lot of attachment for, because it's the one that really got me started on the whole development thing, because the first character I really made was Derpina for, I don't remember, was it 2021 April Fools? I think so, but yeah,
I think
been a while.
well.
So yeah, as you heard, I've made quite a lot of characters. The main ones, Fluttershy, Mari Setsugaya, and Aqua, though I have many more planned. Yeah, it's a real treat to be here again. Been hoping I could join another one.
Was Derpina really the first?
Yes, although she was originally, she wasn't planned to be the first, but I figured that with the event coming up, she would be like an easy character that I could use to get a feel for the tools that I would be using in the future.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't think your gap between appearances has been quite as long as some of the previous recent guests who've. It's more on the order of 3 or 4 years. So, we have a lot of people to juggle here,
That's definitely true.
Me and Nord, we just occupy a privileged position where we get to shill ourselves week in and week out. Although we're actually going to hold that off and save that for next time because we kind of want to get into it, give these projects a chance to shine. There are 4 of them to talk about. 2 new characters, brand new projects, and 2 of them April Fool's reskins. Mymans, I know you've kind of engaged with April Fool's pretty robustly. You've made an April Fool's skin as well as actual full-on April Fool's characters. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
The event has definitely slowed down a bit with the new content that we get each year. This time we only got 2 new characters, really, and then 2 costumes. Now, granted, we don't actually get April Fool costumes that often, so that is nice, but the amount of characters has definitely slowed down. I think it might be in part because a lot of the jokes that you can tell might have already been told, so people feel like making certain characters is redundant. And also because characters like Bobobo or the Magma Grunt or Wikipetan and all those, or Sunny and Tess also, basically have made it so that what feels like would be a joke and wouldn't work or would be too difficult to make work in the main roster, with time has become less of a thing. It's like now the roster can get more wacky or more not so serious and jokey. So I feel like that might contribute to why there's been less April Fool's characters.
Fewer.
Yeah, fewer April Fool's characters.
Sorry, that Hex 2 has burned that into my brain on the server.
No, yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I'd say a full table is still a healthy amount of content. It's not quite the explosion it was maybe in 2021 or so. People aren't quite as holed up in their houses anymore. But you
That's
know,
for
at the
sure.
same time, maybe people just don't feel like laughing quite as much as they used to.
I think
Times are
this is
tough.
shaping up. I think this is shaping up to be a bit of a quieter year in general, but a lot of people are active behind the scenes, making new content for their existing characters or working slowly on much more elaborate characters or more elaborate event costumes. So who knows what the future will hold with this regard.
I do think that moving forward with the April Fool's event, it's not unlikely that costumes will become more common, because I feel like in a way they're like a way to engage with the event and get, jokey or silly or do funny concepts, but without the added effort that takes to make an entire character.
You're right, and I just thought of something. I'm going to keep that in the back pocket for now. Let's see. Also, well, a couple of things I'd like to point out before we get started. The first is, Nord, you got to stop giving all these great segues into the host chilling corner, because we're not doing that this time. We're doing it next time. And Mymans, I have some terrible news. I must inform you that Bobobo was actually never an April Fool's character. He debuted during April Fool's, but that in itself was a joke. It was a troll.
No, yeah, I know that he wasn't April Fool's, though he definitely felt like it. But it's more so that a character like him demonstrated that, oh yeah, you can get really silly with the main roster characters and it still works.
Just kidding is rapidly approaching your location.
Oh fuck, I gotta get out of here.
Well, while Mymans is dealing with that situation, I would like to briefly shill the general feedback poll at least, which is still going on at the time of this recording, and it should extend all the way to, I believe, the closing date, at least for the in-game link for the poll, which is usually when responses dry up. Right now is June 2nd, which I specifically requested for that one extra week because it's going to coincide then with the end of May, which you can expect the sleepover event to return as well. We talked about back in November how it was kind of a rolling event, and it pops up a few times during the year. Last November was its debut, and now it's going to show up again in May. And I think, again, at the end of September and then November again are the three spots that it takes place. So I don't know what projects people are cooking in regards to a new sleepover event costumes, but they'll finally have a chance to get their return and for them to make a reappearance. And I think it'll start hopefully gathering more and more steam as more people notice it throughout the year. So if you're interested in a sleepover content or any other comments that you want to share about the game in general, make sure to leave that on the general feedback poll, which is still ongoing. Responses are anonymous. We will make fun of your individual responses if they're weird, but we won't make fun of you as a person with the full slate of responses because they're randomized. So don't worry about that. And there's a lot of good stuff in there if you dig hard enough. So please contribute to that. We always like reading what people have to say. And the link, again, should be in the description for all of these episodes that coincide with its run. Mymans, have you seen anything interesting on the currently available results?
I honestly have not checked them out that much because I think I might have checked them like a little bit for like my own characters, but like that was a while ago.
Did they say anything? You have a lot of characters.
Nothing that I remember, at least.
I will say, playstats kind of support this as well, but Mari Setagaya, at least, is an extremely popular character and a trailblazer in a lot of ways regarding like player interactivity, especially with like collectibles. So it makes sense that there'd be a big response to her.
I do think that might be in part because she's a character that you can just really slap on any table, and she's dumb, and she's like outgoing and friendly, and also she's like actively sexual and she lusts for the player. She just has all the right qualities, I feel, for people to want to engage with her. And the fact that she now has an epilogue, that she has a dual epilogue with Saki, that she has her transformation, she has a lot of things that encourage playing with her a lot. And also, I've just been doing a lot of different interactions with other characters. I don't know how many she has by now, but she interacts with a lot of characters. She's got even more lines than Aqua, even though Aqua is actually my number one waifu.
I did recently reply to her prompt markers. I saw those. I was like, hey, I'll throw those in there. I know the Maya and Jura do not talk with Mari quite as much as would be best with how popular she is, unfortunately. But I threw those in there. Hopefully you saw.
Yeah, I write every single one of those that I get. It's just that sometimes it takes me a while to respond, but I definitely noticed.
No, it's all good. So before we get into it, do either of you have any opening comments you want to share about the April Fool's event in general this year, and your overall impressions?
Overall, I feel like if you ever need to blow off some steam after writing a character, especially a very serious character for a while, who like their jokes are a lot more deadpan or they take things a lot more seriously, it can be a lot of fun writing April Fool's specific lines, either for the day itself or for the event being active. One of my favorite things is that Asuna has her abridged personality for the April Fool's event, where she curses a lot more and is a lot more competitive. That was always one of my most fun jokes. And it shows that you don't even need to go as far as making a full-on costume for the event. You can just use it as a chance to have a bit of fun with your character. You know, have them make the fandom-specific memes. At least more than they already do.
Target the April Fool's characters and give them lines in Japanese.
Yeah, it's true. You can definitely get a lot of mileage out of the April Fool's event, even without making like costumes or characters or any crazy content for it. Even just writing can help. Although one thing I would recommend to a deb is that if you really want players to see any content that you make like that, you usually do want to highlight it in some way. Like, for example, with the Asuna stuff, I feel like maybe a collectible could be attached for playing her with April Fool's characters or something. Because that way, that really encourages players to know, oh, hey, I should check her out on April Fool's. Same, like, there's another character that I remember has unique lines for April Fool's. Miko, if I remember correctly.
Has a lot of lines.
She does. She has a lot of funny interactions with April Fool's characters.
Right, like because so obviously Solitaire can shill her on the server, but you know, for like the average player that doesn't check the Reddit, doesn't check the Discord, just knows SPNatI exists and sometimes goes in there to crank the hog, they might not know. So I do feel like that's the one thing that I would tell developers is like maybe attach something to them, like a collectible or something, just so that players know that it's there. But if you don't care, you know, that's fine. Don't attach anything.
All right, I think it's time to get started. As stated, we have two alt costumes for April Fools. We're going to cover them first. And two full-on characters, and we will end things off with the good stuff there. That's not to say they're not all good, though. We appreciate everyone's effort. And I should also make note that next time we're going to be covering the Easter event, obviously very close to April Fools most of the time. And both Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Easter fell on 4/20 this year. And how appropriate is that for the first alt skin we'll be talking about, Darkness, Dankness. The sister character to fan favorite Megu, the MS Paint, shitty MS Paint Tails Gets Trolled looking motherfucker character from I think it was 2021. She kind of came out of nowhere.
She really did.
Also by the same creator, Wibbly Warble. He made Megumin, and he also made Megu and He was telling me ahead of time that he had the new idea, Dankness. So you can see the similarities there. It's basically just what if Darkness was a stoner? And it's really just like what if stoner in the game. That's the joke.
It is a joke.
The nice thing is that because it was just this one nice 4-character lineup, you could play them all together in one table and get the full 2025 April Fool's experience. So, Mymans, first on the list, Dankness. What did you think of her?
Well, obviously, as you mentioned, she's like Megu, but like I feel like she feels like Megu taken a step further to some degree. I mean, okay, well, like with Smoking Darkness, talk about Dank, but like, I guess you could say that Megu has more variety in her poses, but I feel like Dankness has like more to her. Like she's a more elaborate thing. I mean, at the same time, I feel like in a way the crappiness of the drawing, like that Megu has, also adds to her. I feel like they're interesting because they're similar, but they're not like the same. They have their own different flavors of dank, shitty, memes, shit posting kind of deal. And so, I'm just going to like say like Dankness is an overall funny character. She has many things that I liked when I was playing her. So like, for example, the fact that she gets covered in a green cloud for her strips was pretty funny. I think, no, I didn't, but I thought of making a bug report joke about farts, but then I realized that's probably not that funny, and they probably already thought of it. But yeah, I felt like that was a pretty funny way to do the strips. I expected like Barbie doll anatomy, like Megu, but the crudely drawn boobs and stuff that were there, that's, well, I guess not exactly drawn, but yeah, that was funny. And overall, it's just a really funny costume. It's the exact kind of dumb, fun stuff that I feel is perfect for April Fools. And honestly, I hope I can give Kazuma and Aqua their own wacky costumes, so a full April Fool's Konosuba party table is possible.
Are these crudely drawn MS Paint characters based on anything, or is it just funny?
They're just funny. Like there is no fandom joke in Konosuba related to them. I feel like if like you made a Konosuba fandom joke for like April Fools, there's like some approaches you could take. Like I don't know, they're covered in slime from the frogs, or they have Banier's mask, which is he's like a demon that can possess people by making them put on his mask. Stuff like that. But yeah, no, these are just funny, shitty MS Paint shit posts.
Yeah, they have the same energy as Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff, which is a like web comic within a web comic in Homestuck or something like that.
Yeah. If the description wasn't complete enough earlier, should point out, like, yeah, she basically just like stands there the whole time. She doesn't move around as much as Megu, but she's just baked out of her mind. Is the long and short of it. Half of her lines are just like, I'm so fucking high right now, I don't even know what's going on. But and unlike Megu, who's like this little gremlin, adapting darkness to the whole MS Paint thing, she's more like a giant rectangle.
Yeah.
But Nord, what's your take on Dankness?
I thought she was funny. It's sort of joke that you can only really play through once, I feel like, just by the nature of it. Like, yeah, all of her lines are about weed, that's about it. But the commitment of having all of her, like, she has multiple poses for it. Poses in quotation marks. She has dialogue for every situation for it, same as like with Megu. I think it works for what it is. And I too would love to see the simplified versions of Aqua and Kazuma and such. Make one for Aqua and just call it water.
I'm gonna call it Agua.
We already have Kaz. Can't use that.
Crapsuma. They do call him that.
Kazu Trash.
Kazu Trash. Honestly, making like a shitty Kazuma that he's like literally a trash bin does not sound like a bad idea.
I know there's not necessarily a whole lot to say, but nor did you have anything else to say.
No, I was anticipating this because Wibbly had talked to me about it in advance, and I too, well, I found it funny in advance, and then when I actually played with it, was like, I laughed out loud, if you will, at it a couple of times.
I feel a little bad because I feel like out of all the characters, this April Fool's, Dankness probably got the least attention. And it's not like there's no effort at all here. Like even to make shitty MS Paint drawings does take some effort because you're not using any kind of model making program. That's for sure. But
secret. The other three are all anime women.
Well, two of them were kind of overshadowed by controversy. Weirdly enough, yeah, it continues to follow around April Fools. But yeah, I mean, I quite liked Dankness for what she was. I think one of the problems is that she basically just has the one joke and you get it right away. It's like, all right, she's high. She's a stoner. I don't think she has any moment where she like breaks character and suddenly gets really eloquent. Now she like longs to crawl out of the screen and be one with you like Megu does. Nor do I think she ever has any kind of like final joke. That kind of just is it with her. What you see is what you get right off the bat. It doesn't really build any kind of climax or a ultimate punchline, other than her just not masturbating because she's too high. She just stands there.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. But what I most consistently got entertainment out of is this pose, guard. I don't know why it's called that, but it's just with her glasses go or slide down and you see her high as fuck, hyper realistic eyes. That's the one where she's mostly like, holy shit, dude, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. She's great for like out of context screenshots.
That art clash with the hyper realistic eyes kind of gave me that sense of Megu again, where she suddenly gets like super real with you. I love her id. Her honesty and perversion. She's just like, I'm just here to see some fucking tits, man. Like she's funny just as a stoner character. I don't think there's much element of like this is specifically Darkness stoned though. I didn't really get that sense at all. You think you could do a little bit more with like her just being totally upfront. It's like, yeah, I just like being hit and beat the shit out of and tortured. But she does feel kind of separate from Darkness.
That is true, yeah.
There are some pretty funny like show don't tell lines regarding like how baked she is. Sometimes she is just like, I don't even know what's going on anymore, but other times she's just like, oh fuck, something happened. Like, let's see. So yeah, like I said before, Megu had a little bit more pose variety just because like her shape is more manipulable, malleable. I started to glaze over Dankness a little bit. No pun intended. And one thing that was a shame is that she only has that one stripping pose, the green cloud with a silhouette. And the problem was that it's the clothed silhouette the entire time, even when she's naked. These little details bother me, even on a project like Dankness. It's like, why does she still have her hat when the cloud comes back up? Doesn't make much sense. So yeah, a bit of a shame that there wasn't like there wasn't much to there was nothing to the forfeit. It was just the joke about her not doing the forfeit. I am curious about the overall Megu cinematic universe now, as you've brought up. I don't know if we can build our own SPNatI lore out of what's going on here with these MS Paint drawings. Aqua gets trolled, maybe.
Oh man, yeah.
who knows what the future holds. But do either of you have any final thoughts on Dankness?
Dude,
Honestly,
bro.
Whoa.
bro, honestly, I think you just gave me a totally rad idea with your comment. I should totally go talk to Wibbly about this shit, man.
I think that's it for us.
Did you know that weed is the gateway drug? And gateway drugs can get you killed. Or you'll move on to harder drugs that can get you killed. And then you can be best ghost friends with Spooky. Sailor Spooky is our next and final alt skin of the 2025 April Fool's event. It's Spooky, but with a sailor fuku and an anime face. So she's now an anime schoolgirl. I think her dialogue is mostly otherwise unchanged. But yeah, Sailor Spooky. She's a dead schoolgirl this time. That's the joke.
Yep.
Mymans, what'd you think of Sailor Spooky, who I should point out has attracted some controversy in a couple of different ways too, weirdly. There was the direct controversy because a couple people said this project's kind of lazy because it's like the default Kisekai sailor uniform and then slightly changed face. And some people were like, does this qualify as like an actual different project? And I think the mods eventually, well, what was the exact procedure there, Nord, that you went with?
Well, we of course looked over all of the submissions we got this year. We only got 4 of them, so we figured there would be no harm in uploading the costume as is, and we assumed more dialogue to enhance a joke would be added, after it was merged, but that ended up not happening. So it sort of feels out of place as an April Fool's costume. And I think eventually it's been taken offline at Bluecoin's request.
That's where I played her as offline. There was also sort of the tangential controversy. This was really more about a later project that we'll talk about in a future episode. It caused a whole flare-up of new age concerns and people voicing their displeasure on Reddit about potentially slipping standards regarding age ups and character apparent ages. And Spooky's name got thrown around in there because she died when she was like 12 or whatever. And people are like, ghosts can't age. You can't age up a ghost. This is just it's a literal child. So yeah, she kind of got caught in the crossfire. She caught a lot of strays despite being dead. Can't have shit when you're dead. Can't have an April Fool's skin. Can't even be aged up. Being dead sucks. So with that in mind, Mymans, what did you think of either the controversies or the character itself? What's left of her if you play offline?
Yeah. Well, thankfully I played with her fair amount of times when I was playing the event because she was a low layer character, and that was great for the Fisher, which we'll get into later. But so yeah, I played with Sailor Spooky quite a bit, and I will be honest and say that most of those games she was just in the background to serve as a character to just have around. So the costume is simple and cute, but it doesn't really have a joke to it. Like usually with an April Fool's costume, you're thinking of doing something funny or unique that you wouldn't do normally. But Sailor Spooky is more of an evergreen costume material, which I wouldn't mind. But like maybe also like Valentine's costume. But like the main thing is that she doesn't have much to her as a costume. It's like as you mentioned, the joke is that she has like an anime girl face and a Sailor Fuku. See, the thing is that's she only has one line of dialogue that really acknowledges that, and that's like at the beginning of the game, where she's like, "Huh? My face is different. What do you mean? I always look like this." Which, like, you would think that that's leading to a joke, where she's gonna be like completely different the game, and yeah, she's just gonna act like that's how she has always been. But then she doesn't do that. Then all of her other lines are just completely normal. Like, I understand that it's not easy to just write completely separate dialogue for a character, because like I did that kind of for Mari, for her April Fool's costume. So like I know it's not easy, and hell, like even this spooky costume has all of like those custom poses that she has, like the flashing or like the butt and all that. Like, that's nice, but yeah, like the main thing is that I don't think the costume idea itself is like bad, but I feel like it should have had dialogue to it if that's all there was to it. Like if she wasn't going to do anything like turn into a yandere, or I don't know, summon Ringu, that could have been something. Like, she's a schoolgirl, Ringu, she's like from the ghost from the school, from Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion. You find her, and people love Ringu from the Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion fandom. I'm not like a huge fan of it, and I like the fandom a lot, but it is a game I really like. So like I know about the fandom, and I know that people love Ringu, so maybe she could have showed up. He has a model for her. She appears in Spooky's epilogue, so that could have been an option. I don't know. There's just many things that could have been done for like a Sailor Fuku Spooky, and they just didn't really do much with her at all. And I feel like if you can't do more with a costume, there's nothing wrong with putting it on hold and then waiting until next year. I know for sure I have like I had ideas for previous April Fool's years where I was like, okay, I want to do this for this year. But then I realized I couldn't get it done by that year, so I waited until later to do it. Like, well, actually, I'm not gonna spoil it yet, but I do have stuff planned for next year's April Fools, and I considered making it for this year, but then I realized that if I try to make it for this year, I wouldn't be able to finish it, either the Fisher or this other project. So then I decided to just settle with the Fisher and leave the other one for next year. I feel like that's just the best course of action. As for the controversy, yeah, I can see why people would get mad at her not having more to her, not counting as as like a high effort enough for an April Fool's costume and all that. I can understand that. Personally, I don't mind, but I get it, and I don't mind that people feel that she has to have more, because I do agree that she should have had more. And regarding the age stuff, well, I understand the concerns, but personally, Spooky looks fine to me. Like she had an older model that did look more suspicious. I feel like the model she has now looks fine. I feel like maybe people just think she looks bad or like suspicious because she has really small breasts. I can get that, but I don't think so. I think she looks fine. I think she looks good enough.
She has been in the game a long time. She was literally like the 15th character ever added.
Wow.
There's some weird fucking pics back then. How
Yeah,
fortunate
I
to
did not remember her being that old.
have an active dev. But yeah, that was all the way back in 2016. And I gotta say, if anyone's in a position to critique whether or not something was high effort enough, Mymans, you would be it. Because, like, I mean, we did bring you on for a reason. Talk about her last, but Fisher's definitely the highest effort project of this year for sure.
I am grateful that people think that, because she was a big effort. Yeah.
Nord, your take on Spooky?
I agree with much of what Mymans has said. There's other avenues you could have explored with Spooky to go for even not just even an April Fool's costume, but for other costume ideas. Like, I don't think we've ever really had an example where like a character gets swapped out wholesale, so maybe this could have been the chance to do Ringu or someone else in her stead, like maybe as a bait and switch, where like after one layer Spooky disappears and one of her minions takes over. Because there's not really any dialogue aside from that one line, you just have to take the costume at face value. And it is a bit controversial to put a character who, like, is already the target of age concerns in a costume that arguably makes them look even younger. Like, anime schoolgirls in general are a bit... It's not helping your case, yeah. Like, having anime schoolgirls in this game in general can look very sus to people, and then people are already aware of Spooky and Source, it seems like. I think if there was more content for this year, we would have questioned why this for April Fools a bit more. But as is, it's been removed anyway, so there's not really much more to say about it. Spooky in general is a very sort of shallow character in terms of costumes, because she's only got like 3 or 4 layers to begin with. One of the smallest layered characters on Mymans.
There was that Christmas one where she just had a Santa hat, right?
Yeah. And that's the only change.
Did you have other thoughts on her?
Unfortunately, not really. That's about the extent of how I feel about the costume.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, this is a little bit more high effort than that Santa costume. Because, like, yeah, you did actually change her whole facial style. That's not easy. You know, that's the most recognizable, or one of the most recognizable things about a character design. So props there. On the whole, though, she was pretty much just nearly identical to base Spooky. She just has the single joke at the beginning, and then otherwise she's just a slightly prettied up Spooky. I did use this opportunity to just kind of take a look and revisit Spooky as a whole, since it basically was the same as base Spooky. And, you know, I don't play with her a lot, but, you know, pretty decent dialogue all around. And I think the age up is done reasonably well. Like, I know people get hung up because she's like a ghost and she can't age, but I mean, for me, like, context and setting stuff is kind of the easiest thing to hand wave, because you could just pretend like, oh, well, that's no longer true in the canon anymore, so I'm aged up now. Like, that's literally the easiest thing to be like, I mean, don't you want them to be an adult? Just let them be an adult. I mean, I guess people are worried that, like, the main appeal of the character is somehow them being young. But, I mean, again, you could always just change that. If for some reason you really are dedicated to this project, I don't know, Dead Kid, why did they go with this back in 2016? It was the fucking Wild West, man, okay? You get some weird-ass shit from people on Reddit. Never talk to Redditors about anything. All these fucking feedback polls are doomed to fail, because we all ask a bunch of fucking Redditors. Yeah, this is pissants, Philistines, all of them. But anyway, there were some pretty nice lines about like the nature of being a ghost, being dead, ghost relationships. Talking about how, like, you wouldn't have to meet her parents because, like, her parents are also dead and they're not ghosts. She kept referring to the other characters as flesh beings, which might be weird on a more serious character, but with a goofy looking cartoon character like Spooky, it's kind of funny for her to refer to them like that. And I think her custom breasts actually are pretty appealing looking. I mean, they're pretty small, but I think Blue Coin has found a nice style that works for him, that he uses for custom breasts and for breast squish when they move the arms around. And he's used that for a lot of different characters, and I think it works well.
I do think that Spooky has pretty nice looking ones for the really, really small, pretty much flat end of the scale, because the options in default Kiske are like pretty bad. So the fact that these custom ones look like they do, I do think that's pretty nice.
My final notes are... Oh, go ahead, Nord.
No, I was just agreeing.
My final notes on her are, A, did she have less facial variety than the base? which on the one hand kind of makes sense because anime is a little bit less cartoony than like the full-on cartoon that Spooky normally is, with just like the Mickey Mouse eyes. But at the same time, the face is the one thing you changed, really, for this costume. So maybe you want to go a little bit harder on that. Again, maybe I just didn't notice the variety. But
I can say that like the facial variety, so to speak, is lesser, mostly because her eyes in the normal one are like goofy and dot eyes and pretty expressive because it's easy to just go for any kind of expression with it. They're just two dots. Whereas with these ones, they have just a little more definition. And he probably kind of went with the approach of more subdued expressions because she looks like an anime girl or something. Which I guess you could argue that, that's part of the joke, but maybe it actually worked against the costume and by making her a bit less expressive. And again, I guess maybe like she could have acknowledged that she was less expressive. Well, anyway, that's another topic. But yeah, she has a little less facial variety in a way. Yeah, it's not just you.
it's a shame he should have added the little bit of eye shine, the shiny irises that anime characters have. She still has
idea,
all
yeah.
black eyes.
Yeah, it could have been done.
And one little final thing I wanted to note, it's something I've been complaining about with a lot of characters lately, but I didn't really notice when she was getting into heavy masturbation. It just kind of suddenly came. It's not good enough. It's not good enough for me. I don't care if she's dead. She needs to do better. Final thoughts on Sailor Spooky? Go download the entire 15 gigabyte game if you want to go play her, I guess.
Or you can download Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion. There's a free version.
Is there anyone listening to the 112th episode of the SPNatI podcast who hasn't downloaded the offline version already? I don't know. Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Spooky hasn't moved on from death, and we have not moved on from Bluecoin because he made a full-on new character, not just an alt costume, but a new character who herself was awash in controversy and people questioning the character picks. But there is a lot more going on here. She's even dead, just like Spooky. She's not a ghost, but she is very much a dead meme. It's Smug Wendy. Do you remember Smug Wendy from Twitter? Back when it was called Twitter? In like 2017.
So let's be honest, it's still called Twitter. Nobody calls it X except for like executives.
I mean, 8 years. That's like ancient history in terms of memes. She's even deader than Spooky ever was.
Yeah, she's old by now, isn't she?
She's up there with Earth Chan in terms of ideas. I remember back in 2017, 2018 or so, people were floating the idea of a Smug Wendy. Kind of when Wendy was going crazy on Twitter, deep frying, roasting the other corporate mascots. That was a thing that took over Twitter for a while.
And now it's just commonplace. Now it's not special anymore.
I don't know what possessed him to make Smug Wendy. The first thing I wrote in my notes was why. I mean, we're talking when the striking, not just when the iron is cold, but when like the whole blacksmith's workshop has been condemned. It's been given a new name. It's been moved across town. I don't know. Well, that doesn't mean she's bad. It's just curiously timed. But yeah, it's anime girl Wendy. Long legs, long stockings. She's here to roast you. And also to serve delicious chicken nuggets, asterisk. Mymans, what did you think of Smug Wendy?
So, as far as her writing goes, she's solid if limited because she doesn't have as many lines as the average character would have. Her jokes don't always land. Meme references might not be to everyone's liking, but I at least found her to be an enjoyable presence. I also think her model is nice, like it's a nice looking model, and that her bot pose in particular is good. I like that. I like that it's a freckled bot. That's really nice. It's always nice to see. But that said, as an April Fool's character, she does feel like she lacks a little something. So like the Smug Wendy from Twitter thing, the main gimmick was that she burns or roasts even in her porn, well, at least the one that has text, she tends to be insulting or roasting characters and then getting immediately fucked for it or something. But so like I feel like in SPNatI, like she only does a few targeted burns, mainly at other April Fool's characters. It's fine if he wouldn't want her to roast everyone or even the nice people, but I think something that could have really elevated the joke was giving her more targeted roast to a large part of the main roster. Like, I don't know, insulting Aqua specifically about being a shitty goddess or something, or Nami about how her manga has gone on for way too long and nobody cares anymore. I don't know, stuff like that. I guess like maybe I can see people taking it personally, but I think that would be like missing the point. It's just like this is Smug Wendy. She just shits on people. She just roasts people. So I feel like if she just roasted like a large portion of the roster, she could have been pretty interesting, because then you want to check her out with like a bunch of different characters and just play her on like a bunch of different tables and see what she has to insult someone with.
Nord, can you comment on the controversy surrounding Wendy?
I didn't want to get into this in detail, but the core of it is that a lot of people were concerned just because the original mascot was based off of a real like young girl for the mascot, but like you could also look at it where like this is clearly very divorced from the mascot, or like the original person used to portray the mascot is very clearly not the same character that's appearing in all of this Rule 34 content. A lot of people though like just don't like her as a concept because of that, and I wouldn't really blame them. I sort of have a more neutral stance on it. Some people didn't, like one or two people I saw were worried that are we going to keep getting like corporate mascot characters in future, but aside from Wendy and Mr. Clean, I think we're good.
Yeah, I can't even think of any, like maybe the Starbucks siren, if anybody's crazy enough to do that. I don't think that's happening.
Aren't all of these characters, these anime girls, corporate mascots?
In a way.
Well, sorry for making you bring that up, Nord, but what did you think of the actual character as she is in SPNatI?
I think she's alright. Bluecoin did a good job with her art and posing, I would say. I just think she doesn't really go hard enough on being vicious with her sassiness. Like, a lot of what stood out from the mascot on Twitter in general was the fact that it was like not only like, you know, light corporate ribbing that you sometimes get between corporations, but it was, you know, the Wendy's Twitter outright just, you know, insulted someone for being stupid. That's hilarious. And I do think it would have been a good area for, like, I don't know, if Bluecoin wants to just write off one target to every character in the game or on April Fools to have her riff on them or just mock them for something, then that would have gone a bit far. As is, she kind of just has like a lot of dialogue that's just contemporary or outdated memes. Like, I think she refers to her own downstairs as the Wendacy. Like, yeah. Is that what she's gonna be known for? It doesn't seem in line with like what you'd expect from Smug Wendy. But there's nothing here inherently like bad, I would say. Bitcoin is able to put together like decent characters. I just feel like this is a case where he didn't really go far enough with her, and I wonder if he does want to update her more given the controversy between you know his two contributions this year to April Fools.
Yeah, an unfortunate double whammy there.
Yeah.
I would like to know what's going on with him in terms of writing fast food themed girls lately. Children's corporate mascots trying to get them to buy like chicken nuggies and pizza and fries. At least Glam Rock Chica is kind of like she is putting up a pretense. Wendy's whole pretense is just like, oh, uwu smug anime girl, now buy our hamburgers. I'm not sure what's going on there. Once again, she doesn't really get into the food too much. Seems like an easy thing to go for. And in general, I'd have to agree that, you know, just as this meme is long dead, you kind of feel it in the character, because it's like she feels a little aimless, a little purposeless. She's kind of blindly throwing out some general shade in everyone's direction, but it is just the generic lines. She shits on her rivals mostly. She throws out stuff against Burger King and McDonald's and how their food sucks, but in a pretty superficial way. I wrote technically that toothless edge is pretty appropriate for corporations, because, you know, they don't actually want to push it that far, but still it lacks flavor. It's a little half-baked. And because there's not a lot to work with, sometimes her lines did just kind of feel like Blue Coin talking, like his own personal gripes with like certain trends on social media. She just kind of became a mouthpiece. I guess that's less noticeable if you're not in like the Discord with him and hear him talk, but that kind of comes out sometimes. Yeah, she talks about the game a lot, probably too much, especially like later on. It's like, yeah, you know, you can kind of like, oh, you know, I won the round, but it'd be good to get a sexually smug towards the end. She does have some lines about how she's hot shit and all, you know, she's pointing at her butt and everything. Her very clenched looking butt with the nice freckles. But there wasn't a ton. I guess her whole character, for what's there, is supposed to be about smug Twitter takedowns, specifically call-out posts. But it would have been nice to see some positive smugness, you know, a little bit more about like why Wendy's good, right? Like, kind of sell me on Wendy's. Okay, you sold me on not going to McDonald's, but why should I go to Wendy's?
It's because we're not sponsored. Can't give them free publicity.
Get the food appeal in there. Let's see. She did have one very nice line that I liked. Was like a pussy reveal, and it was just like, ooh. Speaking of other good places to eat, you could do that more with her own lines or with her own strips. On the art side, she kept the stockings on. That's a natural thing that a lot of people like. Although when she took the stockings off, there wasn't a lot to that pose. I think it was just like some belts. To give the illusion of rolling them down. She has a pretty interesting perky tits and some nice squish. Like I said before, he's got a good system going regarding that. One I could learn from. And some nice freckle appeal as well. There's freckles all over her on the important bits. And, you know, having a really clenched butt is actually kind of funny, although it doesn't make sense for a smug character, I guess you could say. Let's see. On the whole, though, I mean, you know, kind of nice for one game, but even towards the end, she kind of runs out of steam because, yeah, there just isn't enough that's like actually focused in any regard. I mean, it's tough. I wouldn't know how to approach writing this character in 2025 either. I'm not sure why he did it. It's just on a fast food binge. But yeah, there's some promise. But again, it just you need to answer that crucial question of why. And she didn't quite do that. Any final thoughts on Smug Wendy?
Her meats are nice, that's for sure.
He has top buns.
Would you rather eat at Wendy's than McDonald's or Burger King?
Honestly, I don't really have much of a preference because I feel like more than the brand, it has to do with like the place you go to. Like I've gone to like McDonald's that are like they serve nice burgers and that look like the ones from the ads, and other McDonald's where they serve me pure shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is not what I paid for. and all that. Yeah, no, I'd say it depends more on the place, specific, like the local, like the restaurant itself, rather than the brand.
Right. Yeah, there's these places, they're all so big, it's all about the franchise. Nord?
I don't have much else to say about her. Yeah, definitely would need more lines for her to give her some replay value for in future.
All right, fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck these piece of shit 3 characters. Let's all talk about the one character we're really here for. All right, blows them all out of the water, and how appropriate is that? Because it's Pokemon Fisher. All right, the combined effort of Mymans and Nord. Best fucking April Fool's character of all time. Let's go. Pokemon Fisher from Diamond and Pearl. That's a lie, though. She's not actually from Diamond and Pearl. The Diamond and Pearl Fisher is actually just some fucking middle-aged guy like all the other ones. Just has a bunch of Magikarps. This fucking cute, fucking milfy, fucking Pokemon Fisher. God, everyone fucking loves her. I love her too. Let's talk about her. Mymans, what the fuck is going on with Pokemon Fisher?
So, obviously, by now there's a lot to her, but she came from humble beginnings. So, like, the Fisher was a character that I very much came up with on a whim. Like, I thought it'd be fun if we had a fishing minigame in the form of a character. And I think I might have been talking about it with Nord, but in the end, I decided that a Pokemon Fisher was the best choice because there's the Pokemon popularity factor, and it's easy to come up with fish up this way, in the sense that I don't have to worry about any IRL species of fish, like in Animal Crossing, where there's a bunch of different fish you can catch. Or whatever, it's like I'd have to go look up, okay, which species of fish would people like give a shit about, like, honestly, like I can just put whatever fish and no, Pokemon. People like Pokemon. People care about Pokemon. People love Pokemon. People love fucking Pokemon, and I meant that phrasing entirely. So yeah, Pokemon felt like just an easy, perfect fit for the idea of a fishing minigame. As for the character herself, I started her writing from early on after last year's April Fool because I knew figuring out how to make her fishing mechanics work would take a while, or it would take some time at least, and it would not be something I want to be rushing on at the last minute. Her model and art, on the other hand, were very much so something that was done closer to April Fool's proper, with the help of Jules for Magikarp and Phoebus, and the incredible amount of effort from Nord's side to draw all of the other Pokemon and pretty much all of her assets and also her model proper. I can say without a doubt that she was not a character that would be as good as she was if I was on my own. Also thanks to Spook for letting me use the Kyogre model. Spook, a member of the community now, looks pretty promising, I believe, working currently on the Hex Maniac. Maybe by the time this episode comes out, she'll already be in the game. I don't know, but yeah. Though even with the amount of preparation for her that I did, there's still things I want to do with the Fisher that I didn't have time for, and I've also taken notice of the extremely positive reception she got, and I wouldn't be opposed to making her a real proper character, but that will happen later if it does happen. One thing that I saw that people appreciated or that people took notice or wonder about is about like her mechanical complexity, if you will. I mean, I just talked about how I knew the mechanics for the fishing would be something I'd have to figure out. They're like conceptually simple and practically a little harder to follow. She follows a really, really simple system for her fishing. Basically, she fishes something every time she has to strip. So her stripping cases, when she's in a fishing viable background, are her fishing something up, and she just has a random chance of fishing any of the Pokemon. Obviously, the rarer the Pokemon, there's rarities. The rarer the Pokemon, the less likely she is to fish it up. And that was just easily done with the priority or the weight of the lines themselves. And then she just has a bunch of markers for keeping track of, has she caught this Pokemon? Has she caught this Pokemon for the first time? How many times has she caught this Pokemon in the same game? And that can make it a little harder to follow if you're just looking at her file and you don't know what everything is. But it's like conceptually simple. It's like easy to explain. It's just that it would take me sitting down and explaining it to someone how it all works. But yeah, she's actually kind of like pretty simple as a character. Like how it works, it's just a bunch of like the reason it can feel complicated is just because there's a lot to keep track of, but it's not really that difficult. It's not compared to something like Fina, who is a character that has a super complex memory and all that. No, nothing like that. I didn't go that crazy with the markers. Oh yeah, one thing I should mention: the Fisher can be played on the hot spring background. Originally, that was because I had planned to give her a unique interaction with the Fisher because the Fisher gets in the actual water. But I didn't have time to implement that. So maybe next year, or maybe she'll even become a real character by the time that happens. I don't know. But yeah, big props to Nord for all of his effort on the art. Definitely, like seriously, could not have done it without him.
Oh, please have mercy on us all if this is going to become a full main roster character. I think she's finally going to dethrone the best of the best in terms of play stats.
Oh man, her play stats. Yeah.
Talk about replay value. Filling out your full Pokemon collection. I made a note here. This is cats done right. We complained last year about cats and how in order to get one of his collectibles, you had to win a game with him 36 different times in a row. Well, here's an example of like you could play her 36 times in a row and get something different every time and slowly amass a collection. Just like, I mean, it's the appeal of Pokemon, isn't it? So
Gotta catch 'em all.
Very well conceived in that regard. So even if she's a little bit in terms, like forming play stats and collectible grinding, it's appealing and it's well thought out. And I guess she use a lot of RNG calls. That's a little known feature.
No, not really. No, she just.
How does her randomness work?
So the way the randomness works is that
it like line weight.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like she just has all of the catches in her strip case. It's just one case with a bunch of repeated catches, and they all have different weights. So like the rarer Pokemon have different ones. I thought about finding like a different way of doing it, but I figured that it'd be better to just get it done for April Fools, and then once she's done, maybe later on I'd figure out if there was a more elegant way to do it.
I noticed that she at least mentioned that if she keeps failing to find or catch a specific Pokemon, eventually like the odds of it get better and better over time. Some anti-frustration features, as TV
Rather than
tropes call them.
Odds getting better, the catches become guaranteed after enough games. So like you might get the wrong impression. Right, you might get a wrong impression because the way it works is that each Pokemon has a counter that keeps counting up every time you catch. Every time you don't catch it. So like even Magikarp would have this trigger if for some godforsaken reason you never caught a Magikarp. But yeah, so the way it works is that they all have a counter, a secret hidden counter that's always going up every time that she strips or that she has to strip, and she hasn't set the marker for having caught that Pokemon for the first time. And once any of those markers reaches 100 in value, the next time that she catches it is guaranteed. So basically, the way it actually works is that all of the Pokemon that you haven't caught are going up. So you don't have to catch each of them individually. Or rather, you don't have to fail to catch them each individually. Rather, they all go up. So if, say, you caught nothing but Magikarp 100 times, the next catches you would get would be all of the Pokemon that you're missing in a row. So
Isn't that a story befitting Magikarp itself? Hard work
right, yeah.
pays
So like,
off.
I think she specifically in one of her lines mentioned. I didn't want to give the player an exact number without being subtle about it because I felt like that would be a little too video gamey, even if she is kind of video gamey. But what she does say is that something along the lines of, I know I'll get it if I just keep catching. I'll fish up 100 Pokemon if I have to. I feel like that's a way that I can like subtly hint to the player, hey, if you miss catching the big guys 100 times, you'll get them. I'll give them to you.
That's something I wrote down as well. She had good kayfabe, but she also had good NPC hints, where she didn't like totally break the fourth wall, but she did kind of push you in the right direction of what to do. Stuff like star you and star me, for instance. Putting people from space there. Thanks for the bump, I guess. But and I even like Starmie. But yeah, she just feels very, very polished overall. She has an easy to understand structure in terms of, like, I got the idea pretty quick. It's like, oh, okay, every time it's her turn, she fishes something up. And then she talks about it, and then she goes back to fishing. And it's also nice that she's still functional, even without water. I think you learned your lesson from Hot Spring Woman last time.
Right, yeah. I do hope that at least players got the idea from like her initial line having a whole different font and the big red eggs telling them, yo, dumbass, you're doing it wrong. Go play her on a different background. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. And fun fact, you can actually get all of her counters to 100 without having her fish once. Because I actually forgot to make her counters check that she said the fishing is on marker. So you could make her lose 100 times in a non-fishing compatible background. Then go to a fishing compatible background and she'll just catch every Pokemon in a row like it was meant to be. And you know what? I'm leaving that in. Even if I make her a full character, I'm not changing that. I feel like that's funny. That works.
That sounds like some Gen 1 rumor nonsense.
If you play her under a truck, you get Mew.
Okay, well, I did kind of interject with a lot of my thoughts already. But she's quite polished, I gotta say. And do you have anything else you want to introduce about her, or should we just let Nord take over? Because I believe you contributed to this project as well, right?
The only thing I can say, the only two things I would have to add is that one, I feel like she as a character has helped me get more knowledgeable with the pose maker, which you can use to like make animated poses and all sorts of things. And now that I know how to use it better, I've been using it more and more. And damn, this thing is useful. So yeah, that's something I'm glad that I got to like explore with her. And secondly, I feel like she continues the trend that my approval characters have, where no matter how silly they get, they all interact with the sexual aspect of the game. That's something that I think somebody mentioned with Hot Spring Woman. And that's mostly just my personal preference. I just like it when characters keep being sexy in the sex game. So I just feel like, yeah, no, that makes sense. So yeah.
And Nord, am I stupid, or did you help with this project?
Yes, of course I helped. Props to Jules for doing some of the drawings for us, of course. I think Mymans already mentioned that. But I did have to, my part of the project was contributing the model and all stages for it. and then drawing all of the fishing poses, which had to be drawn because it's all from the rear angle. That is to say, you see her rear
She's
in both the reeling and
she's one of the few
casting.
characters that has a butt pose for every stage.
Yeah. It was a challenge. It did take me
I
a while.
appreciated that.
It did take me a while. It took me a few weeks of chipping away at it and doing both the casting and reeling poses. And Mymans is the one that put it all together into the actual animation, including the actual way the you've caught something animation works. And I think he did a really good job with that. If you're familiar with my work, you could probably tell this is a Nord model. I'll just say. I also contributed by just being a voice for Mymans to bounce ideas off of while he was still developing the core concept of what this character should do during the event. One of my suggestions was adding the surfing Pikachu as an ultra rare catch, and he was on board with that, and so I did have to draw the surfing Pikachu, but you had it set so that it's like a literally only one-time catch, didn't you?
Yep, you literally only ever catch him once, and then he never shows up again.
I think you did a good job with everything. Oh, the other suggestion I had given was that if Gigas is in his later forms and you're playing on a fishing compatible background, the fisher starts fishing up Missing No. Touches like that, really bring the
Should've
character
fished up
together. That's not how you get Mewtwo.
They share a lot of DNA, though. That's kind of, I think, one of the inspirations from Mewtwo. A lot of the same employees from Ape moved from Earthbound to Game Freak, I think.
It was a lot of fun helping out with this project. Mymans is the one that really brought it all together. I think she could work as a main character, but that comes with the privilege of her being a hot woman, and our player base will literally say that any hot woman can work for the main game.
Yep. Oh yeah. I guess I should quickly mention why she's a woman. Because Pokemon didn't have female fishers until recently. So then it's like the question is, if I'm going for a female fisher, why not go with the actual model for the female fishers that exist in the new games? Well, one, I don't like it that much. I think it would be an inferior looking model. I think it's not that cool of a design. And secondly, I went with Fisher from an older generation, so that I wouldn't have to worry about newer Pokemon that they would catch, but the old ones, the classics that most people know. So I figured which would be a good breaking point for these are the Pokemon that she is gonna catch. And if I'm gonna add more, maybe later, but which are the ones for the base? Yeah, April Fool's 1. And I went with Gen 4 because everybody loves Gen 4, and it was also my first generation, so it also had some personal nostalgia. As for why she's a woman, it's because I knew deep in my heart that if she was a man, a lot of players were not going to pick her. And I wanted as many people as possible to play the fishing minigame. Simple as, maybe, just maybe, if she really hits it off, I'll bribe someone to make a male model, and then there you go. But yeah, no, she's a woman basically because I just knew people wouldn't care that much about a male fisher. Just the truth, simple as. And I wanted as many people to see the effort that the character had put into it.
You don't gotta justify it to me, man.
I know.
Although,
but I gotta justify it to
if she were gonna make it to main, you probably should change the source label. It's a lie. You probably just put
Right.
like Gen 4
Pokemon.
OC.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe. I'd have to ask
No, no, no.
what exactly is to be done.
It would either be original character, but she's a fan character, so she would just get the fan character tag and keep the Pokemon franchise source in general, but I guess you could remove the Diamond and Pearl part.
Is this like
Yeah.
every boomer's dream? Like, you hate your wife and fish fear you, but your wife loves to fish with you finally? She's not like nagging and bitching at you?
She's pretty strong. Like, oh yeah, that's something I want to point out.
Lift the fucking Gyarados out of the water.
Her model she specifically has muscles in the arms, like custom muscles that you can't make in Kiseki, like just with the default sliders. I don't remember if they use ribbons or hair pieces, but yeah, she has those. I think I specifically requested for those, Nord.
Huh. I didn't really notice those on the model, although her arms do look kind of big from the back on the 3/4 pose.
Yeah, I figured she would have beefy arms because she's fishing all the time. So, you gotta be strong if you're fishing fucking Pokemon like Gyarados, man. She can lift.
Well, to finish up my comments here, obviously I quite enjoyed her. She's the most polished project of these four. Not to denigrate them, but it's clear you went above and beyond in making like a truly like main roster viable character. And she's cute as a button, and it's easy to fall in love. And I honestly wish that she talked a little bit more about herself. I'll get back to that in a minute, but there was a lot of good verisimilitude, some realism to her. She doesn't just fish. She's not just obsessed with fishing. When someone reveals something big, she actually is like, oh, is something happening? I'll come back and actually react to this part. That was a nice touch. When she fishes up each species, she's interested in it and she tells you about it. That's very nice. So it's not just totally cynical. Obviously, she's conventionally attractive. She has the anime MILF mom hair. She kind of looks all like Delia Ketchum.
Yeah, she does kind of look like her.
But Nord, you really nailed a poke face. I wrote. It's something that Serena's dev, I think, actually took another look at, and he's in the process of really improving her face as well. So it's nice to really nail that style. You did a great job. Yeah. I do think her butt should have some deeper shading. Okay, especially if it's going to be facing me the whole time. It's a nice butt, but you could do a little bit more with it. It looks a bit flat. You could shade it more on the cheeks themselves. It's the same thing I'm always saying. But it's a nice pose overall, especially, you didn't really have a reference, so. Quite nice overall. And it makes sense why she'd be so popular. It's nice that she gets pretty horny by the end, again, as well. She's not just obsessed with fishing. She has nice pokies. She has like nice overall like body detailing, and like when she still has her shirt on, she has nice pokies as well. That's fun. Makes me wish that she like splashes herself with water at some point. And you could do a wet t-shirt.
Fuck, I gotta write that down.
Fucking idiot. Hello. It's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, you're right. My bad.
Sorry if that sounded too aggressive.
Nah.
I know it wouldn't make sense if on the non-water backgrounds, but fuck it. You're not supposed to play her on those backgrounds anyway.
Yeah, you are. You are really. Although, at the same time, I feel like if I make her for real, well, obviously the biggest part would be having to figure out a bit of a more fleshed out personality, as you said, for her to tell you more about herself. The reason she doesn't do that is because I don't know what she would say. I haven't figured. Like all I figured out about her is that she loves fishing and she gets obsessed with the Pokemon she fishes. So she has all of these fun facts that she just knows about them because she researches them and all that.
I'm not saying she needs like a super detailed breakdown and backstory or anything. saying like little like bits to latch onto.
Right, yeah.
To go along with like cute waifu nerding out about fish.
That's the main thing that we have to figure out. In just to give her a bit more variety in her lines when you play her in backgrounds where she can't fish, because in those backgrounds her lines, she has lines, she's functional, but they're pretty basic lines. I didn't really put that much thought into them.
Is she lonely? Is she looking for a fishing loving man to come into her life? Fishing is a very lonely hobby.
You know, that's a good point. I didn't think about that, but she probably does fish alone most of the time.
Where does she like to fish? What are her favorite routes in Sinnoh? Sinnoh doesn't have a ton of water. Does she like to fish on the beach on I think it's Route 223 or 222? I think it might be 222. The one right before Sunny Shore.
You know, considering that Sinnoh doesn't have
fishers.
that much water, I wonder if she would actually really like Hoenn, which comparatively, as we all know, has too much water.
She could target all the Hoenn characters. It's like, oh my god.
How is it like to live there? How is it like to
Can she
live
like
in a good
talk to
country?
Aqua Grunt like, let me eat you out right now?
Oh yeah, she definitely has to have more interactions with the grunts. That's definitely planned.
Oh, she has abs as well. I did notice those in terms of her muscles. Very, very cute. Very cute overall. Super cute character. My final comments are her heavy face was a bit weird. She had cute masturbation poses, but her face kind of looks like it's melting on the heavy pose.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I can definitely revisit that one.
Her climax overall should be wetter. I mean, come on, we're talking about Fisher here.
Oh yeah, trust me, I would have done
I was
more
expecting
with
more
that.
of a fountain coming from her, a geyser.
I would have maybe I would have done a bit more with that, but you know, I wanted to get her done. She, to get her, the last few moments that I was working on her to get her finished, it was just me sitting down and just working on her for like hours and hours on the last 1 or 2 days, I think. Because she wasn't as finished as I thought. Because when I actually went to test her, her fishing didn't quite work as I intended. So then I had to do adjustments, and that took quite a bit of time.
And the last thing I want to say is, why is Phoebus labeled as common? Have you played Pokemon? Have you played Gen 3? Have you played Gen 4?
People cooked me
Are you
so
aware
hard
of
for that
of
one.
the Phoebus catching method?
It just so happens that the 4 character slots in SPNatI correspond to the 4 tiles that you can catch Phoebus.
Exactly, yeah. People cooked me for that so hard. The main reason for that is just because I felt like Phoebus and Magikarp, they're like parallels. They're similar Pokemon. They're the shitty fish that nobody wants, but then when they evolve, everybody loves them. So then both Phoebus and Magikarp are the same rarity. And then you would think that then Gyarados and Milotic are the same rarity, but then they aren't, because Milotic is legendary and then Gyarados is just super rare. Oops! At least there's a shiny Gyarados that is also legendary.
Well, I think that's going to do it. We have officially fished this whole pool dry. This pool of characters for this 2025 April Fool's event. Again, I kind of shit on the other 3 a little bit. It's not to say I didn't like them. It's just Fisher kind of stands above the competition this time around. Very nice job, Mymans. And
thank you. I hope I can only make her better.
Thanks again to everyone else who contributed as well. Blue Coin and Wibbly. They did like your stuff. Do either of you have any final comments on any of these characters, especially Fisher?
Dork, you go first.
Women fear me, fish fear me, men turn their eyes away from me. No beast dare makes a sound in my presence. I am alone on this barren earth. Magikarp.
Honestly, one of my favorite wearable collectibles there are. I feel like if I make her like for the main roster, man, I'm gonna wear that hat all the time. It's just so funny. I think it would be funny to have my other characters react to it because it's just so stupidly large. Yeah, my last comments for April Fool characters is I love April Fools as an event. I know some people like it, some people don't, some people have complex feelings about it. It's our most popular event just from how much traffic it gets. So, obviously it's not going anywhere, but it is changing, Maybe it is shifting from full characters more towards costumes. I don't know. The future holds who knows what for April Fools, but it's an event that I hold very dearly to my heart. And all I hope is that people never feel discouraged from a project for April Fools not going too well, or feeling like a character like the Fisher is what you have to do for April Fools, and you just have to put in all this crazy effort. You don't have to do all that for a character for April Fools to be good. So all I hope is that more people get confident, look at April Fools, and if you really do have an idea that you like and you think it's gonna be funny or that it's gonna be entertaining, just go for it. You might get more out of it than you think.
Nord, any sign-offs? I guess you already did the quote thing, but okay then. Well, thanks for coming on as always, Nord. And thanks for guesting Mymans. We'll have you back for next episode as well, which should be quicker. But we wanted to give these characters their proper due. They're only highlighted for like 3 days out of the year, so at least give them their own pretty extensive podcast episode. And and remember, try to laugh in these troubled times. The ironic thing is, we talked about we just loved Fisher so much. We talked about how great she is, but like, what's the fucking joke? And cut.
The joke is the fishing minigame.
That was long.